What's up, everybody? D'Illa here. I wanted to make another video real quick because I feel like when I was talking about, Joe Shane and Brian Dable, their time with the Buffalo Bills and when they brought over Stephon Diggs, and I made the comment about, how there really hasn't been a player available at the wide receiver position for them to trade for or to acquire in free agency. And I left out the names that were going to be in free agency this year. The names that have been floating around forever. Your Brandon Aiyuk's, your T. Higgins, and now all of a sudden you've got Calvin Ridley kind of creeping into the mix. Calvin Ridley, a guy who has spent most of his career inside of a dome and then spent last year in Jacksonville, Florida, a warm weather climate. People want to bring him to East Rutherford, New Jersey, and they believe that he's going to somehow turn out to be the guy for this football team for the next couple of years at 30 years old. No. I'm not buying that. That's a dude last year who was being outplayed by Christian Kirk, and at times Zay Jones was drawing more targets than Calvin Ridley. So why do you want to spend big money on Calvin Ridley for a guy you might get 2 years worth of production? Hell, you might as well just re-sign Darius Slayton and hope we can put a semi-competent quarterback out there on the field and let him go out there and do what he does. Because he'd be a cheaper option than signing Calvin Ridley, I can guarantee you. And everything that I've heard about T. Higgins and Brandon Aiyuk, T. Higgins, Cincinnati has plenty of cap space, availability to actually franchise tag him, which they probably will. You got to think that team's most likely going to lose Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd was a free agent last year, but I think they re-signed him to a one-year contract just to bring him back onto the team. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about that. But I would assume his time's probably coming to an end, so they're not going to let T. Higgins walk. You think Joe Burrow, a team like the Cincinnati Bengals with an offense of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you really think Burrow is going to let T. Higgins walk out the door? No, I just don't see it happening. Yes, they've drafted younger guys over the past 2 seasons. The one guy, I can't really pronounce his name right now. I can't think of it off the top of my head. And there was another guy that they drafted. But, they're not guys that are going to step into this offense, into that Cincinnati Bengals offense right now and give you the production that a T. Higgins is going to give you. So Cincinnati can't afford to let T. Higgins walk out the door. And that's not going to make, Joe Burrow very happy if he does. So I don't think he's going anywhere. I really don't. And like I said, they have the cap space. They have the ability to franchise tag him. I just don't see him coming to the Giants. I hate to burst everybody's bubble when it comes to that. Brandon Aiyuk. I would love to have Brandon Aiyuk on this team. I love Brandon Aiyuk. I think he's an awesome wide receiver. He's got breakaway speed, can run every route, has a very hard work ethic. Brandon Aiyuk is everything in a wide receiver that you want. But the San Francisco 49ers, think of their situation right now. This is a team that's going into the NFC Championship, and they're most likely not going to have Deebo Samuel. As of right now, Thursday, I think things are still looking on the negative side when it comes to having Deebo Samuel for that San Francisco 49ers team. And if you think about Deebo Samuel's career, much of it has been injury plagued. He's had 1 season where he's basically stayed completely healthy. That's it. So, do you really think the San Francisco 49ers can put all those eggs in that Deebo Samuel basket? Or would you rather put some money towards a guy like Brandon Aiyuk, who's out there on the field for every game and doesn't miss a snap and produces the way he does? So what makes you think he's going anywhere? Wouldn't make much sense to me. Kittle's getting a little bit older. Samuel can't stay healthy. Who's your next best wide receiver option? Brandon Aiyuk. You better figure out a way to keep him on that team. Especially if you keep on handing the ball off to Christian McCaffrey like they are. Running him into the ground. Pretty soon, he'll be dead in the dirt before no time at all. So, I don't think Aiyuk's going anywhere. So what are we left with? That's why I want to draft a guy like Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze. Seem like pretty good options to me, man. This team needs a number 1 wide receiver out there on that field. A number 1 wide receiver that we know for a fact is that guy. Is that guy that can go out there and make that play. We don't know that with any of these guys that we have on this roster right now. But when you get a guy like one of those two, you know for a fact that is your bona fide number 1 wide receivers, no questions asked. And we haven't had one of those guys since Odell Beckham Jr. left this football team, and all of us know it. Now, maybe this team wasn't that successful when Odell was here and Eli was throwing him the ball, but we got to put some skill at that position on this football team so we have it. And we're in position right now to get have our choice between two very good wide receivers. And yes, this is a loaded wide receiver class. It is. But the guys that are the true guys at the wide receiver spot are up there at the top. And when you start to tail off into that second round and third, you're not getting a player like a Rome Odunze and a Malik Neighbors. Not even close. If you listen to anything, these scouts, you play any kind of fantasy football, you listen to the information that's going out there, they're all saying the same stuff. Like, this talent is very wide receiver, the draft is very wide receiver heavy, but the guys that are the legit guys are up there at the top of that draft. Now, you can talk about guys like Jermaine Thrash. I like him out of Louisville. There's another guy out of Oregon I'm pretty big on. I forgot exactly what his name is, but he's another guy that I wouldn't mind seeing us draft late. But yeah, man, I just wanted to put that video out there because I knew I didn't include that information in the video that I put out that was like 14 minutes long. But, you know, like I said, there's so many different things that you could talk about when it comes to this football team. And you can sit here and talk for days about it. You really could. Even though a lot of this information has just been regurgitated on here time and time again, it's you know, it's still something I guess we all have to talk about as fans of the New York Giants. But, you know, I just don't see those three options right there, two of them, I don't see them going anywhere. I really don't. Unless they just turn down the contracts that their team offers them and they're walking out the door to go get, you know, a higher dollar contract. And even so, you know, are they going to want to go to a team that's not necessarily a competing team? Or are they going to want to go to a team that is a bona fide contender for a Super Bowl, like the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills? You know, Buffalo's going to be looking for a guy. Because Stephon Diggs, his time is coming to an end. He's got a pattern to his career. As of right now, you look at his past 2 seasons, look at Stephon Diggs. He has a solid first half of the season, and he tails off at the end. About halfway through, his numbers start to tail off, and he's done it the past 2 seasons. And I know a lot of people out there are going to be looking at Stephon Diggs too. And just because of our ties with our coaching staff to Buffalo, we're all going to think, oh, we're going to bring Stephon Diggs in here. But I don't think that's a good option. Go look at his numbers. And that's playing with one of the best damn quarterbacks in this league. You saw in that game against the Chiefs, Stephon Diggs had shots to make plays in that game, and he didn't come up with them. So y'all better think long and hard about wanting to bring Stephon Diggs onto this team. Don't just want to bring him on here just because he's a big name. You know, you got to be mindful about how you spend this money. You can't just throw it at whoever you want because you're going to end up in Dave Gettleman territory. And then eventually you're not going to have the money to get the players, the real strong players that come out that are worth spending the money on because you've already spent them on lackluster free agents in the past. That's it, you guys. Take care. That's all I wanted to say. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.